Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, we're going to be going over how to build a cult personal brand. Now, I haven't uploaded too much on this channel recently. We're getting back into the flow of uploading as much as humanly possible. I'm committed to giving you guys as much value on how to build a cult personal brand and a creative business as humanly possible. And if you want more help with that one-to-one, follow the instructions in the description. It will show you how you can inquire about Creator X and working one-to-one with myself. But let's just dive into this for now. People don't follow personal brands, they follow movements, belief systems, and they follow leaders who make them feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves. We're going to go through a few examples of this later on in the video, but here's an overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to go through exactly what we're building and why. We're going to go through the 5 pillars of building a cult brand. We're going to run through each of those 5 steps. We're going to have a quick review at the end, and then I'm going to give you some homework, some action steps that you can take away from this video and go ahead and implement into your brand to get people to actually give a fuck about what you have to say. You're building a brand, not a following. There's a big difference between just having followers who like your stuff because it looks nice and having a cult brand following. The truth is, you don't need more followers. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to have another growth trick, algorithm trick. I feel like there's a swarm of these new creators who just teach you how to grow on Instagram. And it's poisonous. It's not a good way, not a good sustainable way to build a business, okay? What you need is a cult audience. Not like a cult which means you sacrifice babies, like some Epstein shit, but the kind where people are so bought into your vision, your worldview, and your way of doing things that they can't imagine doing business with anyone else. The difference between having an audience and having a tribe, having this cult audience, is that an audience will just watch the stuff that you put out on occasion. They might give it a like, they might comment every now and then, but a tribe is waiting for that next video to drop. They watch every single Instagram story you put up. They read every email. They care, and when you drop products, they actually are looking forward to buying. Okay, this is the main difference. They participate in what you're doing. The reality is that most creators are building audiences. When they post content, they want to see those numbers, those vanity metrics, and they want to build an audience. But these audiences that they build generally don't really give a fuck about them. I guarantee that out of the majority of people you follow on Instagram, there are only like 5 to 10 people who you can really truly say you like their brand and you know things about them, you know what their hobbies are, you like them as people. Okay, that's the difference. That's what we're trying to build here. These people are chasing views, likes, vanity metrics, but vanity metrics don't keep the lights on. They don't pay the bills. Okay, they don't build anything long term. Smart brand operators like you and me, we want to build something completely different. Okay, we want to build movements, religions, cults of personality that turn casual followers into die-hard believers. We want to create an environment, a group of people online, our own little corner of the internet. And once they're in, they're not going to leave, okay? They are part of your cult forever and they become evangelists. They recruit for you. They defend you. They buy everything you create because they're not just buying products, they're buying into your belief system. So how do we build this? How do we go from being just another creator on the internet, posting reels and hoping that they do well, to actually being the voice in the industry that people resonate with, that people listen to? And I know that if you think in your industry right now, whatever it might be, there is 4 or 5 people at the top of that industry which everyone listens to. What do they have that the rest don't? And that's what we're going to be going over in this video. The exact framework to turn creators into leaders and followers into fanatics. The 5 pillars of brand architecture, cult brand architecture. Every cult brand follows 5 rules. If you miss one of these, your brand will stay weak, but if you can smash out all 5 of these, your brand will bang, okay? And those pillars are stories, the narrative framework to help people see themselves in you, help people relate to you on a human level. A gathering place, a physical or digital space where people can congregate, communicate, share their interests, okay, and interact with you as well. Transparency, radical honesty that builds unshakable trust. Tribal language, so unique vocabulary and intellectual property that creates insider status. We're going to go through all of these things in depth in a moment and show you how to implement them. And a unique worldview, a contrarian belief system that separates believers from everybody else in your niche, okay, a unique standpoint. And when you have all 5 of these things, your content stops becoming content and it becomes what we call a doctrine, a way of living, a belief system. And your community stops just being a school group and it starts to become a movement. It starts to become somewhere where people like to spend their time. They want to hear more. They want to see more from you. So let's break down each pillar and show you exactly how to implement them for yourselves. Stories. Now, you've definitely heard of storytelling in content, marketing, whatever it is. But what you need to understand about storytelling is that stories are the oldest technology humans have for transmitting belief. Think about that for a second, okay? Before writing, before books, before currency, before civilization itself, we had people sat around campfires telling stories. Okay, this is how information was transmitted from civilization to civilization. Think about the Bible, think about the Odyssey, think about every religion, every empire, and every movement has all been built on a specific narrative. Okay, for example, ancient Rome, they didn't just conquer Rome, they didn't just conquer half the world with military might. They didn't just send armies everywhere, okay? The reason that they were able to conquer so quickly is because their stories spread, okay? They used the myth of Romulus and Remus, the legend of Roman virtue and destiny, to share their belief system across all of these countries they were trying to dominate, okay? And the narrative that Rome was chosen by the gods to rule the world, okay? So instead of sending their armies to all these different countries to try and physically convince them to join the Roman Empire, they instead shared stories which changed their belief systems on their own, okay? And we need to think about how impactful stories are to people's belief systems and how we can use that to our advantage. Stories spread faster than armies. These people conquered because people wanted to become Roman. They wanted to be part of the Roman Empire. That's how they were able to take over so quickly. They turned military occupation into cultural assimilation. That's the power of narrative and stories at scale. Think about religion. For example, the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita. These aren't just religious texts. They're collections of stories that have shaped billions of lives across thousands of years. Okay, they've started wars, built civilizations, and they've created moral frameworks which guide behaviors even to this day. Even if you don't follow a religion personally, or maybe you do, Christianity in certain parts of the West has shaped the way that those countries behave. In other countries, Islam and Buddhism have changed the ways that those countries behave and act, their kind of standards of morality and their behavior. So stories, again, have created these foundations, created these belief systems throughout the world. And the reason for this is because people don't remember just facts, they remember stories. Okay, I could tell you data, I could tell you like hours and hours of data, but if I told you that, it wouldn't go in. Whereas you might now remember the story of ancient Rome, or you might remember the story of religion shaping people's understandings of things, right? And it's the same thing with offers and products. No one wants to buy a course. No one wants to buy a program. They want to buy the transformation that comes as a result of that program. So if you can tell the story surrounding that idea, surrounding that transformation, you can tell the story of a client that you had that went from their exact starting point. You tell the story that they went through to get to that end point. That's what they're going to buy into. They're not going to buy your product because you say you can help them. Before and after, struggle and victory, hero and villain. These are the things that stick in people's minds, not just promises. Now, your personal brand needs stories. If you're building a personal brand, if you're posting content, stories are a staple, okay? No one's going to remember you if you do not have stories in your personal brand. Not just one story, okay? Multiple stories, different stories for different purposes, okay? Each one building a specific function within your cult. Now, here are a few types of stories that you can use in your personal brand to get people to remember you, get people to actually care about you on a human level. Your origin story, the pain, the confusion, the journey you took to get from your painful starting point to where you are now. And what this allows you to do is get people to relate to you on a human level. People are going to see themselves in different elements of your story. Okay, for example, people might be at the same starting point you were at. They might have had the same struggle that you've had on your journey. They might have had the same realizations. The more of these sort of elements of your story and personality that you can get people to see in themselves, the more likely they are to get on side with your brand and actually care about you and join your cult. Secondly is client success stories, okay? In the same way, if we share our client success stories, their wins, the transformations that you facilitated, people are going to see themselves in your clients as well. So for example, even if they don't see themselves in your story, they might see it in somebody that you've helped. And again, we follow a similar sort of framework, okay? Where they started, the struggles they faced, the realizations they came to, how you helped them, and the end result. And the more of these stories that you share, both from your perspective and your client's perspective, the more opportunities you give your audience to see themselves in the stories that you are sharing, the more likely they are to join your cult. And these three down here are more of like micro stories. These are like little stories that you can kind of put in throughout, okay? One of them is methodology stories. So for example, there might be specific ways that you do things for your clients. For example, in CreatorX, we use a very specific way of building offers, a 3x3x3 roadmap. And the way that I came up with that is because I realized that the traditional way of making offers wasn't very good. I have this whole story that I use and I tell people about the offer that I built, why it failed, the reason the fulfillment was horrible, and how I came up with this new system to create good offers. Okay, now I use that when I'm talking about my methodology and my ways of doing this. So instead of just saying, hey, I can make offers better than everyone else, you tell them the story of why. Okay, you explain why you're different, better, and more effective than the conventional wisdom than these other people in your market. Behind the scenes stories, again, these are showing transparency. They're showing behind the scenes. They are showing in real time what you are building, the experiments that have worked and have failed, the revenue numbers, the team dynamics, the messy middle, the stories that build trust and show that you're actually working on these things on a day-to-day basis, okay? And the key thing with stories is you don't want to just tell them once. You don't want to just make one reel about it and leave it, okay? You want to repeat this. You want to install it in people's minds, okay? You tell it everywhere. Content, emails, sales conversations, in your community calls. Weave your stories into every element of your brand. Okay, because the more that you repeat it, the more that people are going to remember you for these stories, the more that they're going to have that connection with you. When someone hears a story and sees themselves in it, something clicks, okay? And they think, if he did it, I can do it. And that's when they start becoming a follower, someone that just watches your content, and start to become a believer in what you do and how you do it. So that's section one. You need stories. You need these specific stories to win. This document's going to be below this video so you can access it for yourself. It's going to be in my free community, so make sure you join that as well. The gathering place, where your tribe lives. Every cult needs a gathering place, whether that's a temple, headquarters, a place where believers come together, share their experiences, reinforce their worldview, speak to each other, etc. And without this, your tribe stays scattered. They have no way of meeting, communicating, and talking to each other. Those touch points are few and far between. You might have heard of the term echo chamber, where people come together, speak about topics that they have in common, and those beliefs become more intensified because they're discussing them with other people who believe them as well. And in the digital age, your gathering place is a community platform, okay? For everyone inside of CreatorX, we tend to use School. This is where people congregate. Your free community can congregate. This is where they can ask questions, share wins, support each other, etc. This is where they actually become a tribe. You can use other things like WAP, Discord, Telegram, whatever it is that you want, we use School. And here's why this matters, because when people join your community, they're not just getting access to you, right? They're not just having access to you, they're also getting access to each other people who have bought into your way of thinking. And what that does is it leads to a sense of belonging. It leads to a group of people all feeling like they're in the right place, all feeling like they're moving in the right direction. And when you have a strong community, it creates this energy, this vibe that you can't manufacture. People coming together is something that you cannot manufacture alone with just content. If you have a group of people all communicating, all buzzing, all having the same ideas, that's when you create that energy. When people doubt themselves, other people lift them up. This is how movements sustain themselves. Even when you're not actively doing anything, these people are communicating and carrying the movement forward, carrying the cult ideas forwards. Okay, they're communicating about these things. The leader doesn't have to carry all the weight. The tribe carries each other. Okay, now, how do you design this palace, this place where everyone comes together? Okay, it's not just a Facebook group or a school community where people dump memes and chat about random stuff, okay? You want to have an onboarding process so people know exactly what to do when they join, okay? You want rituals, things that happen on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis that people can expect, people can look forward to, okay? This can be things like daily posts that people can look forward to. These can be like weekly Q&A sessions where people know that they're all going to come together and have these conversations. Recognition, public celebrations of wins and milestones, okay? Access, direct line to you and your team. And exclusivity, okay? You don't want just anyone and everyone to come in. You only want top tier people to come in, okay? So you also need to be strict with who you allow in. And this counts for both your free community and your paid community. And this is what's going to push them to upsell to your higher ticket products eventually. Okay, this is why free community approach is so good. Transparency. When it comes to building a cult audience, the new currency is trust. Today, in today's age, transparency is what wins, okay? Radical honesty, showing the behind the scenes, the things you're struggling with, the real numbers, that's what builds trust. And some proof that backs up this claim is streamers. You look at guys like iShowSpeed, Angry Ginge, these guys are the biggest faces on the internet right now. And there's a reason why guys like MrBeast, the Sidemen, KSI are all moving towards this streaming live format. This almost like 24/7 access to people format, okay? Because they're not hiding anything. They're showing everything they do, the process, the failures, the money, the team dynamics. And people love them for it because they've seen those imperfections, they've seen the things that work, they've seen the things that don't. That's what makes people drawn to them, okay? Because transparency creates trust. And trust is the only thing that matters when it comes to building a personal brand. Information is free. Expertise is commoditized. You can go on ChatGPT and ask it anything under the sun, make any business plan. But if you really truly like somebody, you really truly trust them to get the result, that is what's going to get them to pay for your higher ticket services, digital products, whatever it is. Anyone can claim they're an expert. Not everyone can show the behind the scenes and prove that they are actually living this stuff in real time. Okay, not everyone's willing to show the receipts. Not everyone has the guts to be honest about what's working as well as what's not. And in 2026, I'm really trying to build my content strategy on transparency, using things like story sequences to show what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, right? I try to show my revenue, I try to show my client results, show my systems that I'm building on here, on Creator X, okay? I'm showing my failures. I'm not gatekeeping anything. And when people can see that my wins outweigh my failures, that's what builds trust, that's what builds that authority over time. I'm sharing the journey as it's happening and I'm creating a level of trust that no amount of polished marketing could ever achieve. But this needs to be consistent. You can't just be transparent one day a week. You can't just be honest one day a week. You have to be consistently present. Transparency without consistency is just kind of nothing. You can manufacture it, right? Everyone can post a highlight and be transparent one day a week when it's working out. But if you're consistently showing the lowlights, the highlights, showing what you're up to on a consistent basis, that's what allows people to build up this picture of you in their mind, which gets them to really understand what you're like as a person and how things are working. Real transparency is ongoing documentation, regular updates, and showing day after day, week after week, sharing the journey as it unfolds. This consistency keeps you top of mind, builds familiarity, and it creates the feeling that your audience is on the journey with you, not just watching from the sidelines. Okay, so documenting everything is very important. So the strategy here, share your numbers, show your process, admit your failures, document instead of creating, give away your best stuff, and be consistent with the transparency. Okay, otherwise it looks disingenuous. And the result is when you operate with radical transparency and consistency, something incredible happens. Price resistance disappears. People stop questioning your credibility because they're seeing it unfold in real time. They stop comparing you to competitors because it's literally impossible. How can you compare someone's day-to-day life to someone else's day-to-day life? They're going to be so different. And your audience is going to resonate with one more than the other because they've seen the proof. They've watched your journey in real time. They've been with you through the ups and downs. They've created that bond with you. And trust converts better than any sales tactic ever could. Okay, next up is your tribal language, okay, creating your own reality. This is really interesting, so make sure you listen to this. So every cult has their own language, its own vocabulary, its own way of describing the world. And when you use language in the correct way, whether that's in marketing, whether that's when building a community, whatever it is, you create a certain perception of the world. When you control the language, you control the frame, you control the way that people inside your world, inside your cult, perceive the world. This is really important. So let me show you what I mean. In my world, my personal brand, Creator X, the Sam Huckster page, we don't talk about clients. We talk about brand operators. We don't use words that are maybe taboo in this space. Like we don't use the word programs or courses or anything like that because as soon as you hear those words as someone who understands this space, your brain switches off and it thinks they're trying to sell me a course. They're trying to sell me a program. Okay, no one wants to buy a program. Okay, so we use different language to create a more positive perception of offers and programs and courses and high ticket products. Talking about alchemized offers using unique mechanisms. For example, you will never hear me refer to Creator X or the personal brand ecosystem as a course or a program, because that's not what it is. It is a system which we install into your business called the personal brand ecosystem. And when you create this perception of what you're selling and what you're installing for people, it moves it away from the negative connotations that come with the words like courses and programs, and it moves it towards something unique. It creates a different perception in the person's mind. And it's the same when we talk about marketing or sales, right? I try not to use these words when I'm talking in my content. I talk about brand-based conversions. I talk about the personal brand ecosystem. I talk about extraction events. Instead of using words like courses, programs, I don't like these words. I don't think this language is appropriate for what I'm trying to build. And the reason being is that when you use specific terms, specific language, you can change the way the audience perceives what you're saying in a more positive light. Another example of how you can use language to create an inside feel to your community, your cult. One of my clients, Rob, actually mastered this. So I used to work quite closely with Rob in-house, helping him with content, helping him with scaling his business. And we actually managed to get up to 45K a month, all the way from 7K a month. So we cooked. But during that time, we built his entire trading education business with proprietary language that a lot of his students actually use. So me and Rob are quite close friends, and we have a lot of stupid inside jokes, and they kind of crept into his content and crept into the things he would say in his YouTube content and Reels. And as a result, all of the people in his free community, his paid community, his Instagram comments, his TikTok comments are all using these stupid inside jokes that we would use in our day-to-day. Okay, so when you have these inside jokes, this humor, this specific way of speaking in your content, it makes people feel like they're part of a friendship group almost. It helps them to feel like they're part of your movement, your team. And that's exactly what you want. Okay, so when you use tribal language, specific ways of speaking about things in your offer, specific things or specific inside jokes and ways of speaking that only your cult have access to, it creates that insider status. So people know that they're in this squad, in this team, in this community. It reinforces a worldview. It changes the way that people perceive certain things. And it makes your intellectual property defensible. Okay? When people know your business as Creator X or the personal brand ecosystem or the 3x3x3 roadmap or these certain different intellectual property, these different ways of solving problems, they know them as yours. Competitors can't steal that, and it gives you that competitive advantage. It's uniquely yours. So, instructions on how to build your own tribal languages. Name your frameworks. Everything inside your business that you help your clients to install, give it a unique name. Give it a unique mechanism. Okay? Don't just teach concepts. Name them, brand them, make them yours. Okay? Acronyms. I added this in. I actually don't like it. I'm going to get rid of it. Rename common terms. Don't just use the same words that everyone else uses. Create your own vocabulary. For example, extraction points instead of sales. Use it consistently in every piece of content, email, conversation. Repetition installs language. Again, you can't just create these once, say them once, and expect people to remember. You need to use these consistently over time and encourage adoption. Okay, when people start using that language, celebrate it, reinforce it. Okay, notify that they've kind of caught on, and don't be afraid to let your personal jokes and insider jokes like come out in your content. Okay. This is what's going to help people to really think about when you make a friend and they start to catch on to your way of speaking and your funny ways of doing things. That's what you want for your online audience as well. When somebody adopts your language, they're not just learning the things you are teaching them, they're adopting your identity and becoming part of your tribe. And once they're speaking your language, they're not going anywhere. Okay, they're going to stick with you. You're part of them at that point. Okay, and the final pillar is your unique worldview, the magnet that attracts true believers. This is probably the most important pillar of the whole video. It's what separates weak brands from cult brands, your unique way of looking at things, your contrarian belief systems, the things that you say that other people in your industry don't say, the hills that you're willing to die on. Now, for example, here's a few of mine. Your content should do the heavy lifting for you. You shouldn't be grinding all the time. Your content should do the work for you. You don't need to go viral. Okay, this is something that a lot of content creators that teach content creation, they will tell you constantly, you need more followers, you need more viewers, you need X, Y, and Z. I don't believe that. You don't need that. It's a complete gamble going viral, and if your business is reliant on you going viral every week, you don't have a business, you have a lottery, a gamble. You don't need to spam cold DMs. I've never had a positive reaction to a cold DM in my entire life. You don't need to live on sales calls all the time. I've closed through the DMs multiple times because we've built this strong brand. You need to build a system, a personal brand ecosystem that pre-sells prospects before you ever speak to them. So these are my things that I believe. These are the beliefs that come with my offer specifically. And there's also some personal beliefs that I have that I try and communicate in my content as well. But what we want is we want to have some contrarian takes. And when I say contrarian, that's what I mean. Going against what everyone else believes. For example, a lot of people in the info space, and I fucking hate that term info because I'll go over that in another piece of content, but most people believe you need to just grind 18 hours a day, spam outreach to everyone under the sun to get more clients. You need to sit on sales calls all the time. You need to have viral content that's popping off all the time. You need to have algorithm hacks. You need to have all of these things, but I just don't think any of that is necessary at all, and it's been working for me. Okay, I believe in building trust at scale with the right types of people. You only need a few thousand followers to make good money online. Like a few of my clients, Kanish and Ethan, only have like 5,000 followers between them. And they're about to hit 20K a month. And when you have these contrarian belief systems and you install them into your viewers, it's going to attract people who are also tired of this lifestyle. For example, if you're a fitness coach and you start preaching that you don't need to, and you start going against all these diet fads and these specific ways of eating, specific ways of training, if you start going against them, you're going to attract people who are also sick of that stuff, also sick of these ways of doing things, and they're going to come to you because they like your way of doing it, your way of looking at the world. Okay, so you need to define your unique worldview, and I've added a few kind of things down here, a few prompts to help you do that, because it is difficult to do, it's difficult to identify, to be honest. So the things that you stand for that others don't. What this is going to do is get people to think, finally, someone who gets it. So what does everyone in your industry believe that you disagree with? What's common advice that you've seen that people give out that fail over and over and over again? For me, it's just try and go viral and you'll get money. That's not the case whatsoever, okay? What's the truth you've discovered that most people are too scared to say, okay? And what's a hill you're willing to die on, even if it costs you followers? And once you have clarity on that worldview, build all of your content around it. Your content reinforces it, your offers are built on it, your community believes it, your language reflects it, becomes the core of your cult. The reason that they stay, the reason that they buy your paid products eventually. A strong worldview is magnetic. It pulls in the right people and pushes away the wrong ones. It creates polarity. And pushing away the wrong people is just as important as attracting the right ones. When you stand for something specific, you become the only option for people who believe what you believe. You're not competing on price or features, you're competing on belief, and belief always wins. So, a review of what we've just been over. Why we're building this brand, not a following. The 5 pillars: stories, the gathering place, transparency, tribal language, and unique worldview. And down here, I've given you some simple actions. I've given you actions throughout, but here's some simple actions that you can access in the document, in the link below, so you can go through and implement this. Now, if this was valuable, I hope it was, I'm going to be dropping more videos like this. If you want to comment, drop a comment and tell me what topics you want me to cover. And these videos are specifically for creative, ambitious entrepreneurs who want to build a coaching or educational business using their personal brand in 2026. This is what my content is going to be about. It's going to show you specifically how to do that. And again, if you want help more specifically with that, and if you want help directly from myself, you can either join the free community in the description, or you can follow the instructions in the description to learn more about Creator X, our inner circle, where we help you to implement the personal brand ecosystem. See you in the next video.